It's the storyteller's world. It's the storyteller's world, a place for all to grow. We'll lighten up your world with something you should know. Every man, woman, boy and girl, join in the storyteller's world.
Our story today is Rescue Me. Christy and Stephen Essay had just moved to another city because Stephen got a fantastic engineering job with an oil company. Stephen was delighted about his new role and the substantial increase in his pay. Christy was also intrigued. Her new job as a nursery nurse helped her to plan her time around the family. She loved the effect that the move had on the whole family. Marie, the first child, was a talkative 9-year-old, but she had wisdom beyond her years. Right from when she started school, she had always been at the top of the class. Jonathan, the middle child, a 5-year-old, was very clever, but was quite reserved. He only conversed when it was necessary. The baby of the house, Jordan, a 3-year-old, was very playful and found it difficult to stick to his boundaries that he was being given. All 3 children enjoyed their new school, which was an upgrade to the last one they had attended before. Sally and Tom, their family friends for many years, had recommended a local church that they had once attended to them. The pastor that they had when they attended the church, Carry Your Cross Ministries, had recently been deployed to another city to plant another branch of the church. So Pastor Stern was sent to head the one that Stephen and his family would now attend. After their first service, Pastor Stern welcomed the family into their midst and introduced them to the other leaders in the church. They were quite encouraged to join the church workers immediately, since they confirmed that they were already Christians. So Christy joined the choir. But Stephen thought again, I'm not so sure. Let me see how things work out, he said. Then I will see where I kind of fit in. Christy was given a briefing at a meeting for the new workers the following Sunday. Workers were expected to be in church for 7:30 a.m. Coming late was an abomination. Workers had to compulsorily attend 2 services, from 8 to 10:30 and from 11 to 1:30. At the end of the service, they would have a meeting for half an hour to review their areas of service for the day, after which they would now tidy up so that the next service will not be untidy. God is counting on you. Don't disappoint him. Let us be disciplined in the house of God. The workers nodded in agreement to Pastor Stern's final word before they were released. Pastor Stern also announced that the workers will pray together on Monday, have a planning meeting on Tuesday, Bible study very compulsorily on Wednesday. They had to go out for evangelism on Thursday, and of course feeding the homeless was a must on Friday. Saturday was for cleaning up and every department's preparation for Sunday. The only ones that were excused were those that were working. He asked them to submit their rotas for scrutiny. The Essays' friends from their old station, Ben and Sandra, were desperate to see their friends as 3 whole months had rolled by. When is the best time to get you? They asked Christy on the phone. When are you off work? Christy looked at her rota, but she couldn't make much sense of it. Even though she only worked part-time, activities seemed to have swallowed up her time. Her advice to her friends in the end was, whenever you want to come, just come and we'll sort something out. Stephen's job was quite demanding, but the money was good. They couldn't really complain, but often Christy was left alone to manage the home and the children, school runs, homework, and her job. Since she didn't drive, Christy had to take the children on the bus to school and to all the church activities. She would pack her children's food. They would eat on the way in a corner in the church's cafe before they began the school homework. When they grew tired, a soft mat was available for the children to lie on. Reverend Stern often praised Christy from the pulpit for showing a good example in serving God. But on the other hand, Stephen was getting frustrated at the endless activities. He saw her as not caring about him, and Christy looked at her husband as a backslider. Who's right here? Not fervent in the things of God. A rift was now coming between them, and in the family, things were not looking good. Christy shared her concerns with Pastor Stern. His reply was that if you do not hate your husband, children, mother, extended family, friends, you can't follow Jesus. Christy left tired and worn out. She had to wake up, do long hours before dawn, to do her chores and sleep very late at night to prepare for the next day. That's a woman's job. That's her lot in life anyway, she said. She shrugged her shoulders and carried on working. She was so engrossed in what she was doing that she didn't hear when Stephen came down. He cleared his throat and said, Christy, I have been waiting for you in bed to come and perform your wifely duties. Or is there an embargo on you being my wife? I'm coming up, she said, but I'm fasting, so nothing. You are what? He inquired. Says who? Stephen raised his voice, and that took Christy aback. She talked quietly to try and diffuse the situation. But, Pastor said. Stephen did not let her finish that sentence. Come with me. I am the husband here. You rush around so much that you have no time alone with God that you claim to serve, never mind the man you married. Stephen's last sentence made Christy really upset. She had been waiting on God in a hurry. At last, there was something to look forward to as a family, to break their monotony. Ben and Sandra were coming up for a visit. Christine called Pastor Stern and took permission. She was so glad that she could now spend the Saturday to catch up with their friends, but on the condition that she made it to church at 7:20 a.m. at the latest, before the service started at 7:30. Sandra told the essays about their recent holiday to Disneyland, Florida with their kids. We should plan something together, you know. Christy, you seem to be overworked, and your usual spark and sense of humor seems to have disappeared. Stephen added, my lovely wife has become a zombie, and she's dragging us all down with her. Like they say, there is no rest for the wicked, he chuckled. To make it sound like a joke to the guests, but Christy knew that he meant it. When the ladies were alone, Sandra said, you know what? Balance and wisdom is what you need. That is the only way to avoid tension. Stephen decided that Christy wasn't cooking, and they all went out for a meal. When they came back, Sandra made a call to the children, who were enjoying their half-term break with her parents. She passed the phone to Marie, Christy's 9-year-old, to chat with her friend Rosie, who was also 9. The parents actually met through the children. Rosie and Marie were talking about her holiday and asked Marie, are you doing anything new? How is school? Marie said, I'm not doing well in school because I'm always tired. Pastor Stern forces mommy to bring us to church 7 days a week. I want to leave the city. We're all scared of him. Christy was taken aback by that kind of talk coming out from the mouth of a 9-year-old child. Sandra shrugged her shoulders as if to say, I told you so. It was late, so they all retired to bed for the night. Christy could not sleep for half of the night. She just kept on rolling the matter in her mind as she rolled from side to side. But Pastor said, I must deny myself and pick up my cross and follow Jesus. She drifted to sleep. It was 7 a.m. in the morning, and Christine woke up with a jolt. She jumped out of bed in panic and started running. She dragged the children out of bed to feed them and get them ready. Stephen was in a gracious mood, so he told her, leave the children to me. I'll look after them. I'll get them ready. We'll come together to the second service. As she rushed out of the house, she was still shouting orders about the breakfast. Oh, the breakfast cereal is in this cupboard. Yes, I prepared this, I prepared that. And since she didn't drive, Christy had to take a bus. Luckily, the bus was just pulling in as she got to the bus stop. The bus driver looked at her funny, but made no comment when she flashed her bus pass. The man that she sat next to also changed seats. Christy was praying in the spirit in a strange tongue, and she was quite oblivious to her surroundings. Hers was a third stop, so she got off. Christy ran all the way to church as latecomers were put under detention. She got to the church, luckily, 2 minutes before the time would have been up, and she heaved a sign of relief as her name was ticked off by the assistant, Pastor Joe, who was standing by the door. Rhoda, her fellow choir member, greeted Christine warmly. Christy returned the greeting without looking up as she took her high heels out of her bag and changed from her sandals. Christy had needed flat shoes so she could speed to church if she was running late. Rhoda kept on looking at her in a queer way. Christy followed her gaze questioningly. When she lifted up her head, as she looked down at herself, Christy realized that even though she was wearing a nice blouse, from her waist down, she only had a see-through underwear on. She screamed and covered herself with her hands in embarrassment and humiliation. Christy was so ashamed that she felt as though the ground should open up and swallow her. Rhoda yanked a tablecloth off the table so that Christy could cover herself, and she offered to drive her home immediately. Stephen gave her a reassuring hug when he saw how Christy was trembling. For months, Christy did not go back to church, for she was not only mortified about what happened, but she became depressed. During this time, however, she was able to recover from her stress, and with the help of the doctors, she was working through depression. She was also unaware that her blood pressure was high, but a visit to the doctors unveiled this. Messages were coming from the church to remind Christy that she had been disobedient, as she was supposed to be in church serving God, and she should remember that souls were perishing. But Christy ignored them all. She wondered why no one took the time to come and see her and find out what was really wrong. She concluded that they must be busy looking for souls that were perishing. Christy felt that she was perishing and nobody cared. She asked, Lord, why have you allowed all this to happen to me? But the Lord said to her gently, Christy, I never told you to do any of those things. I called you to be a child evangelist, not a jack of all trades. I have also wanted to spend time alone with you. But the work of the Lord has taken you away from the Lord of the work. I am not a legalistic God. I want your service from a heart of compassion and not from compulsion. stemming from man-made laws. Run your own race, not the rat race of another man. As you stay in my presence, my purpose for your life will be unveiled. Let no one steal your joy, Christy. I had to slow you down somehow so you don't die before your time. Christy replied, but the pastor said that if I don't deny myself, the Lord cut in. That is precisely the problem, Christy. If you spend time with me, your words will change. It will be the Lord said, not pastor said. Think about it and change your ways. Walk in my purposes, not in somebody else's. If you hearken to my voice, I will rescue you from living outside my will, and I will show you how I want to be served. Think about it.
The Storyteller's World.
Now I want to hear from you. What is your view about serving God acceptably? How do you serve God? I want to hear from you. Keep the views coming in. And that's our story.
It's the Storyteller's World. It's the Storyteller's World, a place for all to grow. We'll lighten up your world with something you should know. Every man, woman, boy and girl, join in the Storyteller's World. The Storyteller's World. The Storyteller's World.